Welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, I want to talk about the way people are discussing Modern. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because I think when people talk about Modern, they're very quick to just talk about sets as a whole. And while I think there is some merit in it and it could be valid, I think the conversation to just talk about sets as a whole, we really need to go a little bit deeper into the hobby now and really start to deconstruct what a lot of people are saying. There's a reason why I use the word deconstruct, because when you look at the way hobbies work as a whole, it is definitely that herd mentality. And more times than not, the herd mentality, while it definitely drives along the pack and drives along a lot of the hype and a lot of the interest in things, and it helps move people to different subsections of the hobby, usually that herd mentality never pays off great. And the reason why I say it doesn't pay off great is because when you have everybody, collecting or investing in one type of product, normally when it comes time later in the hobby and that item or booster box or card or whatever really starts to grow in price, you'll see so much different selling pressure because so many different people will have that product because that was the product or the card that they collected. So when people start to hit their price points they have in mind, you'll see a lot of that type of stuff hit the market later. Now, the reason why I say we need to deconstruct it a little bit is because when you look at Modern, and for this video, I guess we'll just talk about Sword and Shield onward. And the reason why is because there's so many different sets. It gets just super confusing and super tough to just talk about all of them. But even if you break down Sword and Shield, Rebel Clash, Darkness Ablaze, Battle Styles, Vivid Voltage, Chill and Rain, Evolving Skies, the Celebration set, and everything in between, Shine and Fates or Champion's Path. Now, when you break up each set, while there are the good cards in it, there's also the good products in it. And that right there is where the secret lies. It's talking about the good products in it. Because you can look at a set like Rebel Clash or Sword and Shield. Maybe they're not super hype sets as a whole. Because maybe Rebel Clash is lacking a lot of good cards. You could say the same thing about Sword and Shield. But when you look at the different products that different sets have, there's always that one product that definitely will hold a long-term value, or a lot of people will be, really pushed to that product in the future because of different reasons. And a lot of those reasons are just there's a chase card promo, or there's awesome artwork to ETBs, or there's all this stuff that goes on. But this is what you now have to do in the hobby. You now have to be able to very quickly identify what people are going to want in the long run. And yes, sometimes the product in that set is the booster box. And I feel like a lot of people just want to go after the booster box. But that's not always the case. You go and you look at that Sword and Shield block, there was a lot of good, products that came out in the last year or two. Was every single product a home run? No. But that's what I hear a lot of people talk about. They'll just talk about collecting Sword and Shield base, collecting Rebel Clash, collecting Darkness Blaze. It's well, what do you mean by that? What product are you talking about? Because there are just good products in each one of those sets. And I don't want to make this video crazy long, but I'll just try to give one example of a product from each one of those sets that I think could do good. Could there be other ones that are better? Yeah. Could there be ones that are way worse? Yeah, definitely. But Sword and Shield base, you had the figure collection, which had that awesome Pikachu promo. Rebel Clash had the 3-pack blister with the Rayquaza. Darkness Ablaze, Pride, Check Lane blister with the Fart and Pikachu. Champion's Path, that's an easy one. Awesome artwork on the ETB plus the Charizard promo in the ETB. Vivid Voltage, I'd probably say ETBs for the artwork, but definitely the build and battle boxes, those things were, a huge hit. One, because it had the Charizard in it, and it had the Lugia in it. Shine and Fates, probably say again, ETBs, because you got the EV VMAX in there, but you also have the Pikachu V boxes. I think those could do okay. Battle Styles, one of the few sets I'd say booster boxes. And why do I say booster boxes? Because they're so cheap right now. I still feel they're not a terrible investment for the dollar amount you can get them, especially if you can get them for like between $80 and $85. But then Battle Styles also had like the 3-pack blister, which had that pretty awesome Jolteon artwork. A lot of people have been waiting for that card. And then even like the single pack Check Lane blister with the Charmander promo. Chill and Rain, probably say Pokemon Center ETBs. Evolutions, they have a ton of good products. Celebrations is really going to be super, promo heavy. But that's just like a very small example. I don't want you to get like, too wrapped up on the actual products I mentioned, but I just want you guys to think about it. Like, there comes a time in each set, even when a set is not fantastic, there are still products that are released. Or there's just standalone products like the Jirachi boxes that were released for Black Friday at Walmart. Those things were selling for like $20. Forget how many packs they had in, but they were awesome values. It's just part of that, like, not just timing the market, but understanding the market. And all those products I mentioned, the only way you're going to do really good in those in the long term, as always, is to get them at MSRP. But, like, that's it. And it's no secret. To pick up stuff at MSRP for all these sets, there's two things you have to do. One, you have to actually be in the hobby when sets are being released. Pick them up when they're still on the shelves. I feel a lot of people, they look at some of these older sets and they just weren't in the hobby or whatever. You look at products that just performed much poorer than other products. You can take a set and look at just one individual pack from, let's just say, I don't know, any Diamond and Pearl set. Yes, I know I said I was only going to talk about Sword and Shield, but let's just, look at any single pack of cards from Diamond and Pearl. Let's say Stormfront, for example. You take a single pack. That pack, yes, it's a good set. It's one of the more popular sets from Diamond and Pearl. That individual pack of cards does have a value to it. Now, all you got to do is throw that card in a blister, and that price of that pack of cards increases drastically, because there's just different items that people do look or flock to, whether or not the cards change in that pack between it being, an individual loose pack versus a blister. No, the cards aren't going to change, but that perceived, perception of value changes drastically. And, it's just trying to, I'm trying to just make an example of like some products just age better than others. And something to also take into consideration when it comes to modern, which I don't feel like people really talk about enough, is we're starting to see people understand these sets, actually open these sets, experience these sets, become familiar with it. Because you will find out, and I've already found out, more times than not, how hard it is to just educate people on different sets, on different cards. And a lot of times people are just not familiar with certain cards or certain sets. And that's just because they never experienced them. They never grew like any sort of connection to them. Where what we're seeing now is, even with this huge flood of people entering the hobby, I would say a lot of people's very basic understanding of modern sets is way more than I had ever seen previous, when people would talk about like more the vintage type sets. And the reason why is because you're finding people that are, really passionate about modern. So they understand like the chase cards, they understand the sets, they understand the products, they understand like all this stuff that goes on with modern. So it makes you really like ask yourself one major question. Is this going to be very similar, or a type of mindset that we see people who grew up with like base set and stuff? And I've talked about this in other videos. People constantly flock to what they know, what they remember, the sets they understand. Like for our generation, that's base set. People flock to base set because it's all the Gen 1s. People remember the cards. Everyone knows the Squirtle, the Bulbasaur, the Blastoise, the Charizard, you name it. People could probably name every single holo. Most people can name all 151 characters. Then they can name all 102 cards in the set. A lot of people might even be able to tell you all 102 cards in order. And that's just because that was the generation people were familiar with. That was the set people were familiar with. So why is like Evolution so popular? Why is Hidden Fate so popular? Because Evolution's kind of just a reprint, brought a lot of people back, but more than that, Evolutions and Hidden Fates had those familiar Gen 1 Pokemon cards. So people really loved those. Really, became immersed with those sets. So what we're seeing now is you're seeing a lot of people really like getting immersive with all this Gen 8 type Pokemon sets. And what can this mean in the future? That's still to be determined. But I don't think we've really seen this type of like immersion into the hobby that I can remember. So if you now have people who are way more immersive in the hobby, especially when it comes to these more modern sets, they can start to now develop and grow these attachments to these cards and characters and sets. So that could be very interesting in the long term. Now, does this change any of the inherent risk that is modern, especially with the amount of cards that are getting printed? No, of course not. But hopefully, if you're not new to this channel, you understand by now that our videos are not just individual videos. This is just one long conversation. Yeah, maybe they get broken up a little bit so you can listen to them in only a couple minutes and not just hour-long conversations. But these are conversations we need to have. These are discussions we need to have. Because, at the end of the day, no one knows what's really, truly going to happen with the hobby. What is modern going to do? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? But we can speculate. We can start to think about things logically. We can just have these conversations because it really is so important. Because the only way to really get to that end goal, which is like, what will modern do in the future? The only way you can do it is to constantly have conversations, to constantly talk about different thought process, different points. And, if you went and you looked at every single video on this channel, there'd probably be, some opinions that I have that won't age well. Some opinions will age fantastic, but it's all about navigating this hobby. We navigate this hobby together, and that's what it comes down to. And do me a favor, go down below, let me know down in the comments, do you understand like this sort of thought process where it's more just talking about like, niche products within a set and not all the time just talking about like the entire set as itself. Like, should I invest in Sword and Shield? Should I invest in Vivid Voltage? It's like, well, what do you mean by that? What products are you talking about? Are you just saying, should I invest in everything? Or are you talking about like, like I said, ETBs for some, booster boxes for some, check lane blisters, 3-pack blisters, special collection boxes, all this stuff. Are those the things you're talking about? Or are you just going to keep having like the very, blah type argument of just talking about sets as a whole? Because I'm just tired of doing that. But other than that, guys, I'll catch you on the next video.